You're never going to believe this one. So get this, in an effort to perfect today's featured song, today's artist stalked his wife's gynecologist. That's right, you heard me. He repeatedly called up his wife's doctor because he wanted to learn how to emulate a Jamaican accent for his album's lead-off single. Finally, this doctor had to tell him to stop calling because it was interfering with his work, with his patients. But that's not the only crazy piece of trivia connected to this track. This song also includes a completely made-up language that sounds like it's real, but it's 100% gibberish. Later on, this song would also headline one of the world's biggest stages with over 2.5 billion people tuning in to catch this performance. All these stories and more are coming up. Get ready to raise the roof and have some fun next on Professor of Rock. Hey music junkies, Professor of Rock, always here to celebrate the greatest artists and the greatest songs of all time. You know, if you remember trying to master this little game, you're going to dig this channel of deep musical nostalgia. Make sure to subscribe below right now. Click the red button so you know when our videos, our interviews, all our stuff comes out. I know that you'll dig this channel. You'll find something to dig on. Also, check us out on Patreon. We have more content there. You can also become an honorary producer and have your name in the credits of each episode. So today, we've got a really good one for you. You're not going to believe it. He's one of the all-time biggest selling artists who cut his teeth with the premier soul band of the 70s, and then he took the world by storm as a balladeer in the early 80s. But by 1983, he was ready to speed things up. In fact, he just couldn't slow down, right? He's a legend whose antics have included everything from finishing Kenny Rogers' biggest hit while going to the bathroom to writing or singing a #1 hit for 9 consecutive years. Not even the Beatles did that. I'm talking about a man that doesn't get the credit he so richly deserves for being every bit the hit maker that Michael Jackson and Prince were in the 80s. Mr. Lionel Richie, man. Today we discuss a #1 smash from his juggernaut sophomore LP, Can't Slow Down. Talking about Lionel Richie and one of my favorite songs of the 80s, All Night Long, All Night, parentheses song. Lead singer Lionel Richie co-founded the Commodores in Tuskegee, Alabama in 1967. After signing with Motown in 1972, the group began stacking up top 10 hits over the next decade. I mean, the Commodores, they established themselves as America's most popular soul group of the 70s. Thanks in part to Richie's knack for writing and singing romantic piano ballads, 3 Times a Lady, Still, Easy. What a great song.
3 times a lady, still. I'm easy like Sunday morning.
Then again, Lionel would also prove his songwriting capabilities outside of the confines of the Commodores. For example, like I said, he penned Kenny Rogers' 1980 #1 hit, Lady. Apparently, Kenny was recording it and he noticed that the song was missing a verse. It was too short. And Lionel Richie finished that song while he was on the toilet.
Lady.
Then in 1981, Richie duetted with Diana Ross on the theme song for the movie Endless Love. Released as a single, Endless Love topped both the US and UK charts. It became one of Motown's all-time biggest hits, and that's really saying something. This man definitely knew his way around a ballad, or should I say a #1 ballad, because pretty much everything he did went to #1.
Endless love.
At Motown's suggestion, Lionel released a self-titled solo record on October 6, 1982. Originally, it was intended as a side project. It was recorded and released while Richie was still a member of the Commodores. However, with the mega success of Endless Love and prospects for his first solo record looking great, Lionel left the group shortly after the album's release. He could have pulled a Phil Collins, though. He could have done Commodores and Lionel solo. Anyway, interesting. Richie had been with the Commodores for almost 15 years. 6 of their albums together would go platinum, another 1 gold, and we're talking 11 top 20 hits during their time together. So leaving the group wasn't an easy decision. Lionel was leaving behind a surefire hit machine to go it alone. But the more music projects he got involved with outside of the Commodores, the more that he realized just how much he liked working solo. Said Richie about it, and I quote, "I have a feeling of freedom and individuality I like that feeling, and I don't really have it as much with the Commodores. The commercial success of his eponymous debut would prove that he had made the right decision. The album reached number 3 on the US albums chart and would go multi-platinum here in the States. Sold over 4 million copies back then. It would also feature 3 top 5 Hot 100 singles, 2 of which were again piano ballads, Truly in My Love, along with the semi-upbeat You Are. So if you're keeping track, that's 2 ballad singles from his solo album, a duet ballad with Diana Ross, a chart-topping ballad written for Kenny Rogers, and then another 6 top 10 ballads with the Commodores, dating back to the mid-70s. Granted, Richie had some up-tempo hits in there with his former band, but I think you get the idea. By this point, ballads had become Lionel Richie's signature style. Enter All Night Long, All Night. After the international success of his debut LP, Lionel Richie returned to the studio for that all-important sophomore set. Expectations were definitely high. Of course, Lionel Richie did not disappoint. For his second album, Can't Slow Down, Lionel ventured into new territory to deliver the goods to all. Said Lionel about the record, I wanted to do something special. I was also afraid of falling into the middle-of-the-road market with slow songs because that's not what I want to do right now. I was looking for more up-tempo songs, this time that wouldn't sound like everyone else's. I wanted to create my own unique sound. The results would definitely defy listener expectations as Richie incorporated sounds from around the world music. Songs that featured up-tempo dance grooves, rock influences, even a bit of country, right? Can't Slow Down would also include a number of big-name collaborators. There was Toto great Steve Lukather and Jeff Porcaro, David Foster, Peter Banks, Cynthia Weil, Barry Mann, and future #1 artist Richard Marx, to name a few. Lionel Richie released Can't Slow Down on October 14, 1983. I guess he had a thing for releasing his albums in October. The album did even better than his first offering. It topped the R&B charts for 23 weeks. Topped the album chart, the pop album chart, for 3 weeks. It spent 59 consecutive weeks inside the top 10 album charts. It was on the album charts for like 3 years. Can't Slow Down was the best-selling album of 1984, and it became the biggest-selling record in the history of Motown Records. Total worldwide sales would eventually exceed 20 million copies, 10 million of those here in the United States. All this commercial success was powered by 5 top 10 hits on the Billboard Hot 100. Talking Penny Lover, Running with the Night, Stuck on You, Hello, and today's featured track, All Night Long, All Night.
Penny lover, my love's on fire. We were running with the night. Hey, stuck on you. Got this. Hello. All night long.
Man, All Night Long, it's a joyous up-tempo celebration that taps into Caribbean-flavored influences. Such a great song. Actually, Richie said he got the song's vibe from his vacations in the Caribbean. He confessed that all he had to do was find that beat that everybody dances to when they go on vacation. And in All Night Long, he definitely found it.
Let the music play on.
But even though Lionel had found the groove that he was looking for, it would take him about 2 months to write the song. Apparently, he had everything figured out, but he didn't have the All Night Long, the chorus. And he said, I couldn't find All Night Long to save my life. I had everything, the verses, the middle part, all the stuff. I just didn't have All Night Long. It took me forever to find it. And finally one night, the heavens opened up and it came through. All Night Long, All Night was recorded at Ocean Way Studios on Sunset Boulevard in Hollywood. Richie and Greg Phillinganes, they were credited with playing synthesizers. Daryl Jones, Carlos Rios, and Tim May played guitars. Abraham Laborio was on bass. John Robinson was behind the drum kit. And Paulino DaCosta took care of percussion. There was a lot that went into this song. Plus, there were numerous backing vocalists on the track. Actually, 7 are credited here, including Lionel himself and Richard Marx. Plus, there are a total of 14 people credited as chant vocalists. And then there are 24 as hoopa hollers. That's what it says in the liner notes. All Night Long has a very multicultural vibe, as the final version of the mix features Jamaican, African, Spanish, and Swahili phrasing. For example, the line, "We're gonna party, Karuma, fiesta forever," that uses both the Swahili and Spanish words for party. And then later, Richie also used the Caribbean term liming, which also means to get together and to have a good time. But here's the thing, not all the non-English lyrics in the song actually mean something. As Lionel Richie explained, the supposedly African lyrics, "Tambolite sete moja yo, jambo jambo," that was all gibberish. He said, "I called the UN and I said, I need something African for the breakdown in this song that I'm writing. They informed me that there are thousands of different African dialects." I couldn't believe it. One region doesn't have any idea what the other is talking about. So Tambolite sete moja, I made it up on the spot. So while it's possible that those words could individually mean something in various African dialects, as a whole, they're purely plucked from Lionel Richie's imagination. So any meaning they might have is really accidental. But get this, to perfect the pronunciation of the All Night Long's Jamaican words, Lionel Richie got even more creative. He basically stalked his wife's gynecologist, a guy named Dr. Brian Grigg. Lionel Richie loved Dr. Grigg's Jamaican accent so much that he wanted to imitate it for the song. So in order to hear him speak, Richie would repeatedly call him on the phone and just take mental notes. Said Lionel, "I was worried about getting the right words and about pronouncing them just right. My wife's gynecologist is Jamaican, so for a week, I was after him." Finally, he said, "Look, Lionel, I'm right in the middle of an appointment. Can we talk a little later?" Too funny. But I guess Richie must have talked to him enough times to get what he wanted, because Dr. Brian Grigg is a dialect coach on the song. He's credited as such. Now, as we further break down this song, I do want to thank our sponsor, Zenni Eyewear, the glasses I always wear. Right now, you can get up to 80% off regular retail prices with Zenni on most of their eyewear. And with summer here, you know you need some sunglasses or transition lenses. Change up your look by clicking on our info button up here to get the best prices. Zenni Eyewear, something for everybody. Now, Lionel promoted the release of All Night Long with a vibrant and colorful music video directed by Bob Rafelson. It was also produced by former Monkees member Michael Nesmith. The video, which is basically a festive street party, one of the best that MTV had to offer, it definitely screams the 80s, iconic for sure, captures a spirit of communal joy. And it features a multi-ethnic mixture of dancers and partygoers. The choreography showcases a range of dance styles drawing on pop, soul, contemporary, African, Latin, and Caribbean influences. Even got some breakdancing in there as well. Very much a product of its time. I love this video. Richie himself is, of course, at the center of the celebration, performing with his characteristic charm. I mean, his presence always magnetic, bringing together the diverse crowd. It's an unrestrained celebration. You can't help but just feel good after listening to All Night Long and watching the music video. It has the exact same effect. This song, it has an undeniable magic to it. It just lifts the soul. It's Lionel Richie at his very best.
Everyone you meet, they're jamming in the street.
So All Night Long, All Night was the first single released from Can't Slow Down. In fact, it appeared in September of 1983, a couple of weeks ahead of the album. It entered the Hot 100 at number 62 on September 17th. All Night Long worked its way up to #1 8 weeks later, and it would top the chart for 4 weeks, holding off would-be title contenders like Billy Joel's Uptown Girl and McCartney and MJ Say, Say, Say.
She's been living in her uptown world. Say, say, say what you want.
In the United Kingdom, All Night Long fell just short of the top spot, settling for #2 for 3 weeks. That was because it was behind Culture Club's Karma Chameleon, also Uptown Girl. Elsewhere in the world, All Night Long, All Night went to #13 in Denmark. It went to #9 in France, #8 in Switzerland, Sweden, and Austria. Went to #4 in New Zealand, #3 in Ireland and Norway, #2 in Germany. It also hit #1 in Spain, Belgium, Australia, the Netherlands, Zimbabwe, Italy, South Africa, and Canada. Man, massive hit.
All night long. Yeah, I said.
All Night Long, All Night was also nominated for Song of the Year in 1984. It lost out to Every Breath You Take by the Police. Very competitive year that year.
You take, I'll be watching you.
Still Can't Slow Down would win Album of the Year the next time. It was in 1985, The Ceremony. It beat out some tough competition there. Prince's Purple Rain and Bruce Springsteen's Born in the USA, to name a couple. Talking pop culture, All Night Long, All Night has appeared in quite a few movies and TV shows, including Kid Video, remember that? The Fifth Element, The Wedding Singer, Everybody Hates Chris, The Simpsons.
All night long.
Last Man on Earth, Lip Sync Battle, Brooklyn Nine-Nine, It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, and This Is Us. All Night Long was also featured in the pilot episode of Miami Vice. Do you remember that? Lionel Richie was invited to perform it. However, Richie was out on tour, so he couldn't make it. Instead, you can see an anonymous band playing the song. Would have been cool if he would have done that. He probably didn't know Miami Vice was going to be one of the biggest TV shows ever.
Party, come on, it's fiesta forever.
All Night Long, All Night has also been a popular song to cover. Richard Marx has done it, Leona Lewis, Vanessa Williams, Jimmy Buffett, and Lionel Richie did it together. Jason Mraz, Kenny Rogers.
All night singing.
And Stevie Wonder. Actually, Stevie Wonder's cover was particularly meaningful to Lionel. He would recall, and I quote, Stevie Wonder was performing in Radio City, and in the middle of his show, he stopped everything. He told the audience that he wanted to play his current favorite song, and he played All Night Long. Right in the middle of his show. That is the greatest honor anyone can give to me. It's the ultimate compliment. It was the compliment of my life. End quote. Definitely when Stevie Wonder does genius. Also in 2011, Lionel re-recorded All Night Long, All Night with Australian singer Guy Sebastian. This was to raise money to help provide relief for the Queensland floods and the New Zealand 6.3 magnitude earthquake. The 2011 mix was released exclusively in Australia, charted at #12 in New Zealand and #26 in Australia, respectively.
All night long.
Let's backtrack to 1984 for a minute. Another career-defining moment for Richie. Lionel was invited to perform at the closing ceremony of the Summer Olympic Games in Los Angeles, along with Diana Ross and Michael Jackson. However, Diana Ross couldn't make it, and Michael was a spokesman for Pepsi. The Olympics were sponsored by Coca-Cola, so he couldn't do that. Man, the Cola Wars of the 80s, remember that. MJ was out, of course, so after some deliberation, the Olympic Committee offered Lionel a solo spot. The TV appearance would be seen by over 2.6 billion people across 120 countries. Absolutely massive. Overwhelmed by the offer, Richie didn't say yes right away. At this point, his solo career was still pretty new. He didn't know if he was ready to headline in front of the entire world. But ultimately, Richie knew that this was too good of an opportunity to pass up. So, of course, he said yes. Joined by 200 breakdancers and several thousand athletes and volunteers from around the world, Lionel Richie sang an extended version of All Night Long, All Night, writing a new verse specifically for that performance. Man, there was not an empty seat in the LA Coliseum that night. fireworks filled the air and a spaceship model meant to tap into the ET craze appeared overhead. It was a massive worldwide party. If Lionel Richie had been on the verge of breaking out before, there was no doubt this performance definitely sealed the deal. By the time the show was over, Lionel Richie was an indisputable global superstar. In fact, Lionel humorously recalled that the next day, I guess he was sitting in traffic and a guy 4 cars up was crossing the street. He saw him and he yelled, "Lionel Richie, all night long, all night, baby." All the people started honking their horns. In that moment, he realized, holy crap, I'm no longer the invisible man. Lionel Richie had definitely arrived.
And there he goes.
From then on, Lionel Richie was living out the name of his sophomore album, Can't Slow Down. I mean, that record rocketed Richie into the stratosphere. Over the course of his solo career, Lionel Richie would release 10 studio albums and he would sell over 125 million records worldwide. All Night Long was such a big thing. I remember when I was just young and in school, there was a joke going around, how long did Lionel Richie go to the bathroom all night long? I mean, it was talk on the playground, for heaven's sakes. It was one of the first 6 or 7 albums I bought with my own money. It's still an album that I can play from back to front and front to back. Those of you who get that reference. It's an album that my whole family could listen to back in the day. Nobody complained to turn it off. I think a lot of families had that same experience. Lionel Richie has always had a gift for writing songs that have brought every one of us together, for sure. Thanks so much for watching. Leave us a comment about Lionel Richie and All Night Long, All Night. What are your memories of this song, of the music video, of Can't Slow Down, of the Olympics? So massive. Let's have a great discussion. Celebrate this great song. If you like our content, we invite you to subscribe below. We would love to have you as part of our community. Until next time, 3 chords and the truth, my friends.